Now, let's go to the third stage quickly. The Bible talks about the preborn child, talks about the infant, and then he talks about the child. This is the third stage. How old is it? I don't know exactly. It's from being weaned until they start becoming a youth, which is the fourth stage. It doesn't have teenagers in there, by the way. The Bible doesn't talk about teenagers. It talks about youth. So youth is when the prefrontal cortex starts kicking in gear. And it might be anywhere from 12 to 18. Could be anywhere in there. But 12 is about when it starts kicking in. So the child, I would guess, is from the time they're about 2, 3, somewhere in there, till about 12. That's about my guess. In 1 Corinthians 13:11, it says, when I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. Can I tell you that a child is not an adult? They do childish things, and it's okay for a child to do childish things. Hello? It's okay for a kid to be a kid. Understand that every kid is not perfect. You knew that, right? Well, my child is more compliant. You know, some of your children are compliant, and some of them are strong-willed. And that's just the way it is. You say, well, aren't you glad you didn't get a strong-willed child? Well, God bless you. All mine were 3 were strong-willed. It's because of their mom. I mean, that's just, you know, I'm sure it's her fault. But the truth is that maybe you have a compliant child. Listen to me. Let me tell you something about compliant children. Compliant children know how to play the rules, but that doesn't mean foolishness is not bound in their heart. Don't ever make that mistake. Don't tell me, parents, don't tell me my kid doesn't lie. The Bible says we're all liars from the womb. Don't be looking for them to lie. Don't expect them to lie, but know for sure it's probably going to happen. Trust but verify. Okay, I know that's not popular to say, but it's true. A child's place. Galatians 4 verse 1 says that an heir, as long as he's a child, differeth nothing from a servant, though he be Lord of all. I remember a young lady come to me one time, and she said, my mom, I said something about doing chores of the house. She said, my mom won't let me do chores. And I'm like, what? And I went to the mom, and I said, what's this? Oh, she said, yeah. She said, when I was a girl, I was a slave. I always had to do all the cleanups. And so I decided I wasn't going to do that to my children. Well, I've had enough time to watch the results of that. Lord have mercy. She should have taught them how to work. I'm just going to tell you. I've watched the end of that, and it's not pretty. Kids, your kids in your house ought to be a servant. They ought to learn how to do things. When they're 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, start learning how to pick up their own toys. Basic things. Are they going to do it right? No. Make the basket big enough they can get them in there. You know? The whole room, you know? Make chores that they can do, but understand you're on purpose training them to do something. They're learning at this point, they're learning service. They're learning obedience. Ephesians 6:1 says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. In 1 Timothy chapter 3, verses 4 and 12, he talks about the pastors and the deacons' children being, the deacons' children and the pastors' children being in subjection. That is a term of submission and service. You know what? There's stuff to do at church. There's tables to be carried. There's chairs to be carried. There's floors to be swept. Your children, parents, listen to me. Your children should be doing those things at the church. If there's tables, sign them up. Tell them my back hurts. Does your kid's back hurt? Probably. Right? Teach your children to serve. They need to serve. I'm not talking about teenagers yet. I'm talking about children. A child has problems. Proverbs 22:15. Now I'm going to show you a couple things, and I need you to understand what I'm saying here. I need you to understand the words, and I want you to understand I'm not counseling child abuse. Okay? But Proverbs 22, look what it says here in verse 15. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, any child, foolishness. But the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. You have to discipline your children. When they do wrong, you have to discipline them. You have to. Look, right now we're giving demerits out like candy at the school because the kids need to find the lines. They need to know where the lines are. Some parents are upset about it. Well, my kid's got a demerit. Well, yeah, because he's being a jerk, okay? We're trying to stop the jerkiness, okay? We're trying to get control of this. How do you get control of foolishness? How do you get control of it? Rod of correction. In our case, it's a demerit. It's a little piece of paper. You're supposed to sign, and then you take care of it from there. Chapter 23, verse 13. Withhold not correction from the child. Oh, here's a phrase. Listen to what this says. For if thou beatest him with a rod, he shall not die. I know that's not popular. And let me tell you, I'm living proof that if you're beat with a rod, it's going to ruin your personality. It'll make you a wallflower. You won't be able to talk in front of people. You know? Ryan, are you a wallflower? Yeah. I'm going to tell you what. I got whooped when I was a kid. Powerful often, Brother Rick. Powerful often. Did you get whooped? Oh, yeah. Somehow I believe that. We're familiar spirits. I got whooped. Do you know what I got whooped with? A belt. You know how much that hurt? I don't remember. Ask my therapist. Are you talking to your therapist, are you? We didn't have any mini blind things in our house. My wife would steal them and use them on the kids. I'd come in and another broken mini blind. You know, it was the ones I had to turn the mini blinds with a little hook up the top. Because those broken things. Hey, they did not die. Our kids made it to adulthood. They're married and have children. And, you know, it's like, it's okay. Spanking. There's a part of the anatomy. We call it the derriere, affectionately. It is a cushioned part of the body that if force is applied to it, it startles the child but does not hurt them. Should you leave marks on them? Well, I think you should try not to. But you know what the Bible says about that? The blueness of the wound cleanses. Folks, listen to me. I know that what you're hearing right here is foreign, but I'm going to tell you that's why our world is screwed up. You know what people want to do instead of chasing kids? They want to put them, a parent told me recently, I want to make a room in our house that's padded so when my child does wrong, I can put him in the room and lock him. That's called jail. You know what? If you'd have given me the choice of being locked in a room or getting a whooping, I'd have taken a whooping anytime. Because I get the whooping, it's over with. It's done. I'm back at it. Probably causing trouble again. But you know what? You know what they're wanting to do? They're wanting to do that. And then they're starting to put names on all this stuff. The Bible calls it foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. The rod of correction will drive it far from them. If you say, I know better than God, you will find out too late that you were wrong. I'm going to tell you this right now, that when my wife and I looked at each other, when Ryan and Zach were chucking stones at each other and baptizing Aunt Jean's cats, I'm telling you, when they were doing that, I looked at my wife and I was spanking them every stinking day for a while. I would come home and I had to spank them every day. I'm going to tell you, every Sunday after church before we ate Sunday dinner, unless they fell asleep on the way home. For a while, it was spanking every day. Do you know why? We looked at each other and I said, I don't know what to do. She said, I don't know what to do either. I don't know what else to do. They got ADD, they got whatever else. I mean, if I'd have taken them to a therapist, they'd have identified them as screwballs. I know they would have. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. We looked at each other and we decided we were going to do what God said to do. And I told her, I said, I don't know. And you've heard me say this. There's 4,000 years worth of data in here about life and how social life works. In here, it talks about how to deal with this. We're going to do what this says. And if it doesn't turn out right, that's on God, not on me. Hello? I'm glad we did. Otherwise, I'd be visiting them in jail. Or somebody be visiting me in jail. I'm not sure. Listen, I'm not advocating child abuse. I'm not advocating for that. Proverbs 29:15 says, a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. You have to give them boundaries. They have to know where those boundaries are. And Colossians 3:21 says, bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Do not forget the tenderness part of it, the love part of it. For every spanking, there ought to be a bunch more hugs, right? Love them, love them, love them. Make sure they know you love them.